Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to find out what key that our flute is in. Uh, if it doesn't have a marking on it and tell you what key that the flute is in, this is how you can tell what the bass note of your flute is going to be. Now, when you first when you first pull out your flute, you know your flute has been in the bag, and the fipple block may have a tendency to move because it's not hard tied to this; it's soft tied, and the fipple block can move back and forth. Okay, so when you first walk up to your flute and you want to play it, you want to check the positioning of your fipple block. Okay, so I'm gonna put this flute down, and I want to show you the dynamic on the inside of the flute really quickly. Okay, all right. So I've made this acrylic flute, and I use it as a teaching tool when I'm teaching students and other people how the air flows through the flute. So the air flows through the mouthpiece into a slow air chamber. It's like a bubble, okay? And it builds up back pressure, so it doesn't take very much air to push through the flute. Then the air passes to the top of the flute. I'm hoping you can see that little hole that goes up to the top of the flute. It passes along a very thin, the air passes along a very thin, narrow airway where the air gets pinched or focused right there. Okay, so the placement of your block is very important. You see how your block is either flat faced, it's very flat faced across the front. There's a couple other styles, okay, where there's a concave. You can see that it's concaved, okay, but that is not the issue. The issue is placing the fipple block so that this wall, okay, meets this flat edge, okay, to this side. So when you put your fipple block on there, you're going to want to slide it forward until they both line up, so that they both line up nice and even. Yeah? Okay. And what that's doing is that's focusing the air, pinching it. It's pinching the air, okay, and pushing the air against this filed edge, which is filed down in the flute, and the air is split. Okay. So the proper positioning of your fipple block is you place the fipple block onto the flute, or if it's already on the flute, okay. Some people really like to take their fipple blocks off of their flute to allow it to dry, to allow that air pass to dry. And we'll get into that about the care of your flute and the reason why you'd want to do that. And you can see that I'm not really tying it, I'm just snugging it and turning the lace. Okay. Now I'm not worried about the position of the fipple block just at this moment. Okay. So the fipple block is on the seat. Okay. Now I'm going to get up and show this again. Now I'm going to line it up so that it's nice and straight. Now I'm going to show that. I'm hoping that I'm going to get out of the light here and hoping that you can see that it's nice and flat and lined up across there. It's lined up across this back wall of your flute. Now I'm going to show you a picture so that you can greater understand, because this is very important. Most people pick up their flute and it squeaks on them and they don't understand that the first thing they should do, okay, I'm hoping that you can see that pretty good. So what it is your fipple block, the air is coming into the mouthpiece, into the slow air chamber, up to the top, and the fipple block is guiding the air across the top, where these two walls, the wall of your fipple block, and that back wall, okay, line up, because the air is going to be pinched right here and pushed against this filed edge, and the air is split and the sound is created. Now, my first DVD instructional that I made, it was a little bit dark, and that was because of the darkness of the flute and the colorations, but I wanted that part to be clear. Okay, so now we have our flute, and I'm going to show you real quick. See how my fipple block is not lined up? It's not lined up, right, with that back wall. I'm going to push it forward, okay, until it is lined up nice and smooth and clean. You can see that it's actually focusing the air to push against the flat edge. And I know I'm kind of beating this down a little bit, but it's kind of important. So now your fipple block is nice and lined up. Okay. Your straps are nice, are snug. We're not trying to tighten it down. The seat of your fipple block, this part and the bottom of your block, both need to be very flat and very clean. It's like a gasket in your car. Okay. If there's a leak or whatnot, then it's going to sound very airy. Okay, so your fipple block is now in the proper position. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover all of the holes in the flute. Okay. And now this is only if you don't know what key your flute is in. Okay. You want to cover all of the holes, and you would need a tuner of some kind. Okay. A chromatic 440 hertz. Okay, tuner. Now I'm going to cover all the holes, and this flute, as I have indicated, is in the key of G. Okay. And you can see that the flute is in the key of G. Okay. All right. So now we've established what key that your flute is in. The next segment that we're going to do is we're going to talk about good hole coverage, breath control, and breathing. Okay. And we'll do that in the next segment here.